Oh yes, live on
Yay, we're live. Hello, we're live. We've just literally been here about 5 minutes ago. Are we live? We're live. It's not working. It's not working. Right, log out, log back in again. Is it live? Is it live? So there are major issues with going live on Facebook from Zoom at the minute. I personally think it's partly to do with the rollout of the new Facebook interface for live streaming. So one of the first issues with that, especially if you've used something previously for your live streams, is that when you look at your live stream settings on desktop, there's like 3 options, and you want to make sure it's on camera. And that seems to have fixed the problem for a lot of people. But right now, I can't go live on Facebook through Zoom, which is really frustrating. So Amanda, you had to log in and do it for us. Did you find? Have you got the new live interface, or are you on
Facebook?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. I literally just click the buttons I would normally do on Zoom to go live, and it just seemed to work for me. So
anything new?
Yeah. So I don't go live on Facebook very often. Just as me. So
yeah. It's
as you do,
yeah. It's just so frustrating when things don't work. So yeah. So how's everyone been this week?
Good, thank you.
All right.
Pam, you've gone really low again in the screen.
So we've had
Pam a booster seat, don't we?
A booster seat, or so we have had a little bit of hilarity based on the way that Pam says the word cushion.
She won't say it now because she's embarrassed.
Poor Pam. Everyone is constantly teasing her for the way she says things and giving her funny nicknames and stuff like that. So Pam, I'm sorry. Please don't hold it against us or ever see an HR lawyer. Oh, it's been a bit of a funny week this week, I think, in that we've had all this nice weather and then we were promised all this rain, and it's like as the days have gone through, it's just got grayer and grayer and grayer. But it's meant that we've had lots of clients on the phone, which is fantastic, and lots of people wanting to do new stuff with us. But we seem to be getting a lot of inquiries at the minute for email marketing, and especially doing like email drip, nurture campaigns, that sort of stuff. And I was talking to someone who was asking me like, what's the best software to use and things like that. Obviously we use MailChimp and we create templates for clients and all that sort of stuff. But talking about what kinds of messages you can include in a series of emails that you're going to automate and send to a client. And yeah, just sort of brainstorming ideas around that. So now I've got you all on the call. What ideas do you have? What sorts of things do you think our clients can put in email drip campaigns to keep their audiences engaged?
I literally just came off a coaching call about talking about email marketing.
Oh, really? So what things were you suggesting?
Well, yeah, it's a different kind of company still, but it's a business coaching company that are really quite high profile anyway, but they're doing loads and loads of stuff for businesses locally in their area, and they've reduced like the cost of like their networking events and other sort of coaching events that they're doing, like like they're usually a really expensive service, but actually at the moment they're really, it's really attainable to use at the moment. So I was kind of saying about kind of getting those events out on email marketing, but they were saying that their people clicking into the email had, they weren't getting a lot of clicks, like virtually nothing. And I suggested, let's see, I don't know if anybody will agree with me, because I've tested this before about your subject header and things, about having emojis in your subject header and not having emojis in your subject header. And the ones that have emojis always get clicked into. So if you can get the click in first of all, then create the message that you're trying to create. That's the first battle, isn't it? You need people to get into the email first.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, there are things that you can do to really increase those open rates. And
Yeah.
it's things like like I said, subject line so important, and definitely split test with the emojis and stuff. But also, you know, you get that bit of text underneath, that preview text. If you're using something like MailChimp, you can control the information that's there as well, which is just essential, absolutely essential.
But yeah, that's what we were trying to get across, was the events that they were, you know, that you know, because people, I didn't even know, I've worked with these guys for a long time, I didn't even know that they had these events at such a little cost, that actually they need to be shouting about it, really.
Absolutely. It's funny, you know, when you think about putting emojis into things, you kind of think about like the silly emojis, but actually there's a lot of options, just symbols and things like that, that are, you know, just like a symbol that's almost kind of says like, you know, attention, look here, and you know, that kind of stuff actually is really, really effective. I think it can be effective on all fronts, but I think especially if you're B2C, business to consumer, definitely think about doing some tests and just split your data in half, do some A/B testing. Half of the people send exactly the same email, just put some emojis in it, and the other half with that subject line, exactly the same subject line, just no emojis, and see what the difference is on those open rates is a really good tip.
I had an email come through yesterday. I've never seen it before, and it did make me click on it. I don't know if I'd suggest it, but it was basically, the subject header was loads of question marks with like a statement in the middle, and then loads of question marks again. But because it was so unusual, it really stood out when it came through, and I was like, what the hell, what is this? So I clicked on it, and it was about an online course, I think, like a marketing online course. But what you were saying, Christina, about testing sort of symbols and things, that really stood out to me because it was completely unusual. I first of all thought it was like a spammy sort of email, and I thought something had broken. So I was like, what's going on? Which is the reason why I clicked on it, thinking that my emails had broken. But actually they hadn't. But then it did interest me. The format of the email itself, again, was quite different to anything that I'd seen before. So it did work. So I think definitely testing symbols as well as emojis is good, and sort of doing a split test like you suggested.
I think the content of the email obviously is really important as well, and you know, it's the value piece as well as the sell, and especially when we're doing sort of like drip campaigns, it's kind of, you know, if there's 20 emails in that series, then probably only 4 of those emails are going to have a sell in them. The rest of it is really about educating and value and building loyalty. Amanda, we were looking at some sort of stats and things social media wise, thinking about, you know, how can we incorporate that into some of our presentations. But yeah, that's the sort of stuff we would put in an email drip campaign as well. Was there anything in that information in terms of email marketing stats, or was it more on the social media front?
It was a mixture of social media and just kind of consumer behaviour at the moment. But in theory, I mean, the stats from a couple of weeks ago showed that email open rates were higher, because I think to start with, everybody wanted to know what companies were doing. You should say certainly in a business to consumer sort of sphere. So you've got, you know, Tesco's email regularly saying this is what we're doing this week. And I must admit, as a consumer, to start with, I was really reading those because I was like, okay, what changes am I going to expect when I'm going into where? But now I'm like, I kind of know, I'm a bit over it. You know, I don't want to know about the minor details. It was just the first few things. So, you know, and when you get the subject line, a message from our CEO about what we're doing, it's just not engaging. You know, I know they need to do it, but, you know, if you are trying to sort of still get people to buy and engage with you, you do need something a little bit more, you know. So Joe Brown's, for example, I know they're a clothing line that Christina, I know you use sometimes.
I love their shoes.
They're great at doing subject lines, and they often use emojis in them, whether it's kind of, you know, spring colors, or even just the hands pointing that kind of say click below for. That's quite a good way of encouraging people to engage with you. It just gets that click to open, and then obviously you've got to think about what the content is. So so I don't have any juicy stats on email open rates, but the overall was that they were higher.
Okay. And what about the social media side and the consumer behavior thing? Then what trends are, do we need to be thinking about for our clients at the minute?
So I think unsurprisingly, but interesting to have the stat, was that, globally surveyed consumers said, so 45% of consumers said they are now spending more time on social media. Which, so it's not surprising we're spending more time on it, but it's interesting to see that that's kind of a worldwide impact. Partially to get news, so people are going on there. 47% of people said they're going onto social media to get updates on the news. So I guess that might be because some people are live streaming the daily updates. It's not to say they trust social media. So interestingly, people were saying, we've kind of forgotten about the whole Facebook Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah, Cambridge
saga.
what?
Yeah, what was that? So it's not to say we trust everything we're seeing on there, but we're going on there to find, so we might go on there to find like Sky News or BBC News. But also people are staying on there once they've seen the news for a bit of light-hearted relief, a bit of fun. People might be using it to take part in online quizzes as well. So people are hosting and doing Facebook Lives for online quizzes on there. So I thought that was quite interesting. In terms of marketing campaigns, apparently only 14% of UK marketing campaigns have continued as planned.
That I saw that stat.
Yeah, everybody's changing their approach because we have to. So people who are working hard during the lockdown, I mean, obviously frontline workers have the toughest job. I don't think we could compare what we're doing to that. But the fact that we've had to change so quickly and such a massive percentage. Another thing, I won't bang on about all the stats because we've got other bits to talk about, but sales of things that have rocketed and that are hard to come by and topics of conversation. So hammocks, trampolines, sun loungers, less so this week, but a nightmare to get hold of. Hair clippers, hair dye, bread makers, anything along those lines. Really big. Fitness is a massive topic of conversation. People are saying they're walking and doing more fitness. Things that are down, holiday wear, anything to do with weddings and events, because obviously people can't travel and go on their Easter or summer holidays. Anything unfortunately to do with weddings. If you had a wedding plan this year, it's nosedived. But yeah, I just thought it was really interesting to find out kind of what the global trends are.
Yeah. I mean, there's massive. I'm seeing loads of stuff that is around sort of people being encouraged to like get into the e-commerce space, and like just sort of all those products and things that people are kind of. It's like the low value product that when you're bored, you kind of quite happily buy your dog another 3 toys off Amazon. It's that, which I haven't, by the way, but yeah, it's that sort of stuff though, where you kind of go, it's only a tenner, but we're getting bored. Kids have played all the games, like what other board games are there for like 15-20 quid, and it's people are still spending money. So there is still business to be had, but I think it's about sort of understanding, okay, we know people are not buying these products or these services, but what can we put out there that is at that right price point, essentially? So yeah, it's really, really interesting.
Well, and it brightens up your day as well, doesn't it? Just a little thing coming, a little parcel in the post when you're not really going out. It's a bit. I mean, well, yesterday. Sorry, Jane. I'm gonna well, not name and shame, but your bottle of gin arrived yesterday, and you took a photo and shared it all with us, and it was a thing of beauty, wasn't it?
It was beautiful.
But yeah.
So should we put in a little plug for the Lakes Gin now as well?
The Lakes Gin, yes, yeah. And it was some guitar kit for you, Mark. Sorry, I'm probably not using the right amp or something.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Something to do with the guitar.
Which is much nicer than a bottle of gin, to be honest. Although obviously Jane gets those daily, so it's a bit different.
Yeah. She does. Hey.
We need to say hello to our people who've joined us online as well. So Paul, Glenn can see you. So Paul, our regular stalker, he's there, and he has actually called you Pinot Pam.
Oh no!
I knew
talking about that
I
just
nearly
before we
changed
go
my
on.
title to Keen and Pam, but then they
Yeah.
thought that I said a different word, so it was.
Yeah.
It's not going
Fab.
well. Who else is on? Did you say Glenn?
Glenn is on, Jamie's been on, Claire, Terry, Karen Omani. So there's a few people that have joined us for a bit. So if anyone's got any questions marketing wise, or just wants to say hi, then drop a note in the comments for us while we're here. Otherwise, we'll just keep chatting, won't we?
Yeah, we do. We're good at that. That's the whole point of this. It's our weekly catch up anyway. But yeah, hopefully it just gives everyone else a bit of an insight into our world. I don't know what's going on. Just out of my eye line, just there, my husband is literally clambering over the furniture, trying to find something. So excuse my distraction.
I think he's probably trying to find the toy that Paul's asked if you bought him to keep him amused.
Oh, okay, right. You know, when a minute ago when you were talking about the things that are in high demand, I could have sworn I'd seen a stat somewhere, and I need to find it, but it's something about like they're predicting things that are like what's the next thing that people are going to be desperate for and go, high demand and the rest of it. And sex toys was on the list.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. Don't say it, Christina. Don't say it.
That's kind of awkward.
And I can say Anne Summers' hats too. You have to guess this, but try and keep it
Actually
relatively
going down
clean.
this route right now.
Only
Isn't
briefly.
that you swimming?
Anne Summers' hats too limit the number of people buying a certain item. So before anyone thinks it's really
Oh, you
awful.
mean like quantity wise?
Yeah, quantity wise. So people were buying a lot of it and they've had to limit the number. But before any of you think it's rude, it's not. It's pasta, because they do certain phallic shaped pasta.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people couldn't get it at the supermarkets. They were going, I know where I can buy this from.
Oh wow.
Those
So they
people
had-
look quite clever.
I did see
I
that
never
somewhere.
thought of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't think of
We ran out of pasta. Imagine.
it. We lead a sheltered life, Emily. That's what it is.
Here's your dinner. Just don't say anything. I kind of want to do that now as a joke.
So use that as a
You should
subject
live
line
stream
on
it.
Open.
I actually might do it as a prank. It's a shame it's not April Fool's Day. That would be perfect for April Fools.
It'd be awkward if you had children and they asked what they were asking, what shape is this? Dinosaur?
Oh wow. Okie dokie. Right, bringing it back into the
Big
virtual
potato.
room. Yeah. So Jane, you've been busy with Facebook ads this week.
I have, yes.
Has any changes been rolling out on Facebook ads? Anything that or any little idiosyncrasy annoyances that you've been experiencing this week?
Not massively. I mean, they've got rid of the campaign budget optimization thing, which I had actually really got in the habit of using, waiting for that to be the norm. And now they've changed their mind. So all of a sudden I can now go back to setting my budgets in a different place. The one thing I have noticed this week, though, is that ads are getting approved a lot quicker. So right at the start of this, it was taking a couple of days sometimes for an ad to be approved. Now I had one approved in 30 minutes yesterday. So that's got better.
Brilliant, because that's been really annoying, hasn't it?
Yeah, that has, definitely.
Yeah.
Although I have seen things that people have said in forums about ads not being approved at all, or being approved but not actually delivering. But I've not had any of that myself.
Okay, that's in. Sometimes when they roll out changes, that is a glitch that does happen. I've had that in the past. It's like everything looks like it's on and it's approved, but you're just getting 0 results on your ad. So yeah, that is frustrating. They seem to have been sending out lots of messages again to individual advertisers. What Facebook does every now and then is you'll kind of get a Facebook Messenger message, and it's basically offering a one-to-one session with one of their advertising people, and they give you some advice and guidance on their ads.
Yeah, I've had a couple of those.
Yeah, I'd say always take them up on the session. Is it going to be a sell? Well, yes, because they're always going to encourage you to spend more money and increase your budget. But it is quite interesting in terms of, that there were some of our ads and they were saying, okay, well, you've chosen that particular type of campaign. Why didn't you choose this? And then we had the conversation about why I felt that, what we've done was the better option out of the two. And so, I guess on the level of knowledge that we've got, it's quite interesting discussing those points. Whereas if you're kind of, in the early stages of playing with your Facebook ads, it's a good opportunity. If you get that message, take them up on it, because you can say, right, what am I doing wrong? What is it you think that I can increase my results with? And what they actually do is they email you their suggestions, and then they set up a follow-up call with you for a few weeks later. So even if you just implement their suggestions for a couple of weeks and then see what difference it's made, they actually review that difference with you as well. So when it comes through, it looks like a bit of a spammy message, but like I said, it's it is worth spending the time and having that call.
Yeah, might do that next time I get one then.
Cool. Okay, Emily, what have you been up to? What have you been talking to your clients about this week?
Well, what I've been up to is I had a meeting with Jane and Darren from Pager yesterday, which was good. So I think Jane's been testing that quite a lot, but I've sort of been testing it a little bit with her. And I think now we're going to be testing it a bit more together, just because there's certain aspects that I think it's good to get different perspectives, and certain things that Jane picked up on that I didn't, and vice versa. So that was good. And then I have been doing review slides, prep for those meetings, and I've been doing blogging bits, and I've been doing more sort of Instagram TV stuff. So you sent me that article, Christina, about setting up series, which I have to be honest, I didn't actually know you could do. So that was really good. So I changed these videos actually into a GU Live Lunch series. So I think people now, if they want to set up a notification for that, they can.
And they should.
And they should. And a good thing for that as well is, again, it's something that I didn't know that you could do, is you can, well, actually thinking about it, I did know because I have seen it, but you can set a preview. So although we do this sort of live on Facebook, if you did have a separate Instagram TV series that you were doing sort of only on Instagram to begin with, you can set up a preview so people can then watch the preview and then get the notification for the show and then watch the show on Instagram TV.
Cool.
So that was good. So it was something that I'd sort of had an idea about it, but I hadn't experimented that much with Instagram TV because it's not something that I've done on my own profiles at all. And we've sort of had, well, this is sort of the first thing that's been really well suited to that, I think. So yeah, I've just been experimenting with that a little bit, really.
Yeah, Instagram TV is all about episodic content. That's if you're going to use it, it's got to be that type of content. So speaking of new things, I set up a TikTok account last night.
Oh, did you?
And did my first post on there. So not sure how I feel about it.
What did you do?
We'll all be running over to TikTok. What did you do? Was it a jokey one?
So if you saw my Instagram story yesterday, there was a video of me asking people about challenge what's your LinkedIn challenge? And basically I used that video on TikTok. So
I love that thing on Instagram because it came up with almost subtitles, but really funky ones. So is this a kind of a trade secret at the moment, or are you ready to share with the group how you did it?
It is a trade secret, but only because my phone's in the other room and I can't remember the name of the app now.
Oh, we can build up some tension for next week's episode, can't we? Join us again.
Yeah, I wish. Clip-tomatic, I think it's called. Jade, we've included it in our social media coaching club weekly email before as the tool of the week. I'm sure it's Clip-tomatic, but it has lots of different formats, and basically as you record your video it transcribes what you're saying, but you can then edit the transcription, so it's really good for short videos. For some reason it doesn't like question marks, so I had to use an emoji question mark instead of just a question mark on my keyboard, which was really frustrating. But you found a workaround, so that was fine. But yeah, like I said, there's lots of, you've got like almost like comic style call outs and things like that you can use, or just basic text. that goes along the screen. So, and you can kind of it processes the text so it's in time with like when you're saying the words. But I actually took out a lot of the text. I took out a lot of what I was saying. So the only words coming up on screen were the key bits. And then, I could have timed those texts. I could have timed the text appearing wherever I wanted it in the video.
Very cool.
It's just something a bit different.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm going to try it.
Yeah. So,
a free app or a paid app or what?
It's free. It's
Christina,
free.
we're talking about it. Of course, it's
like
free. Free is her favourite price.
Absolutely.
In the purpose of research for our clients.
Yeah, free's great when I'm the customer.
I like free.
Yeah, no, it is a free app. I can't remember if there are sort of paid upgrades and things. I know the people that that the app belongs to, they have other apps as well, and there's sort of call to actions within it for you to download some of their other stuff. So it might be that actually this is a bit of a lead magnet into trying to sell in a completely different app to you. But I've not looked into that bit. I've just looked at the free bit. It's not a new app. I've probably had it on my phone for 6 months or a year. It's just not one that I use particularly often, but I thought actually it could work really nicely from a TikTok perspective. I had a look at who to follow on there though, and I just couldn't find anyone. I think I'm following about 4
kids,
people. Yeah, I follow our kids everywhere else. I don't need them on TikTok as well. And I'd probably hear it coming down the stairs anyway. So, so yeah. The other thing, so like obviously everyone's going mad for TikTok at the minute, and because they're, it's so new. There's a lot of opportunity there from an organic perspective. So it is something we need to have a bit of a play with. I need to show willing with. But the other thing that is massive, and I think everyone's going to be going hell for leather on right now, is podcasts. To the point, I'm on a 3-hour podcast course webinar thing this evening as well. So obviously we've had the Green Umbrella podcast in the past, the Social Snippet show. So I'm thinking we're probably going to be bringing that back online as well in the next, I'd say the next few weeks. I wanted to do it in January, to be honest, but for various reasons, it hasn't happened yet. But I think now is definitely the time for us to get that back up and running. So might even use this episode as the first one and just kick it off and, just ship it basically and deal with the issues later, which I know, Mark, you love when I do stuff like that.
Mark's face.
Mark would much rather I came with a full strategy plan and this is going to be our process that we're going to stick to, hell or high water.
It's going to be done by this time on this day, so that the artwork can be done at this point.
We've already got the artwork.
Have we?
So for Social Snippet show.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. So this
There's
time,
a bit of a deluge of podcasts at the moment, I think. But it sounds like people are increasingly listening to them. So if one of our clients was going to start a podcast, like a recruiter starting a podcast, or I don't know, consumer craft business or something like that, what advice would you be giving to people?
Really think about your target audience. Really, and it's not about you, it's about them. So the thing about podcasts is you probably heard people talk about social media and they're saying, everyone's consuming it on their phone, they're holding you in their hand, they've got your attention. Well, actually the podcast is more often than not, you're in people's ears. I'm actually going to be able to get into people's heads quite literally through a podcast. But what that means, what that means is that value piece, more than anything else, is it's got to be at the centre of it. It's interesting. I was looking at, there's a couple of people that I follow, and I've sort of over the last couple of months I've started to follow quite closely, bordering on stalkishly, which I openly admit. And to one of them, I literally admitted that, you know, my behaviour was coming, you know, I promise I'm not actually stalking you now, which he thought was hilarious. But I was looking at his podcast episodes, and they're not about what he does. They're not about the service he delivers. What they are about is the reason people come to him. So people come and use this guy's services because they want to be successful entrepreneurs. They use his services because they want to learn about sales and marketing and the process. They come to him because they are focused on being in the right sort of business mindset and all that sort of stuff. Okay. So the people he's got coming on his podcast are telling their stories of success, not his story of success. And he's really digging into those particular elements and the challenges they might have had, and you know, why they've done things the way they've done things and made the choices that they've made. And so it's a really interesting podcast, and very it's like an interview style podcast, so very, very conversational, rather than just someone talking for 15 minutes, having a bit of a rant, or saying, you know, this is what I think you should be doing about XYZ. It's very much a, here's someone that my listeners might not have access to, but I do have access to. Let me get the information from that individual so my listeners can benefit.
Is this the one you said there was a guy on death row who was wrongly
it's not
convicted?
Yeah,
it's not him, but he was a guest on the podcast.
I was going to say,
just for clarity,
yeah, absolutely. So it's the Spencer Lodge podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so there's a series, or I forgot what it's called now, some 13 something. Basically this guy was on death row, wrongly convicted. He was there for 20 odd years, I think, and during that time he basically educated himself of the legal system, looked at his case, and was able to get his freedom. And now he's, you know, essentially quite a motivational, inspirational individual. And yeah, he's done 2 interviews with him now, which he live streamed, but that's on the podcast. Like I say, there's some really interesting people that have been on there. And actually, because Spencer Lodge is actually based in Dubai, a lot of the people on there, we wouldn't know who they are in the UK market. So these are not, you know, it's not like he's interviewing international, you know, if he was interviewing Gary Vee, for example, and stuff like, you know, it's not that level. They're people that are almost like celebrities within Dubai, or within the UAE. So, or I say business celebrities, if you like. So, but the conversation is really, really interesting. Talking to a female businesswoman in a male-dominated sector who grew up in a family where the woman's job was to be a good wife and have children, or that there was another guy on another episode who basically turned his back on his family and wealth because what he wanted to do was something completely different. Irrelevant of your success, there's common storylines there, and, you know, people are feeling sort of trapped in that situation, and actually, you know, hearing them talk about, you know, why they behaved in the way they did and the decisions they made and all that sort of stuff is really interesting. Now, it's interesting to me as someone that looks at Spencer Lodge and goes, you know, I really want to buy his course because I think that, for example, there's a course that he has that I've completed myself, and I'm thinking that, you know, I should invest in, and Pam should do his course, you know, and I think that, you know, that'd be a really cool thing for Pam to be able to do, because I got a lot out of doing that course. Well, you know, I say, as his target audience, the content on his podcast is fantastic, but it's not selling his training.
Yeah, I like that. That's just, I need to look at that. I like that kind of stuff too.
Yeah,
I like reading about stuff like that as well.
I mean, who listens to podcasts out of you guys?
I do.
Occasionally, yeah.
I do, but normally in the car, so I literally haven't. I'm the opposite at the minute. I haven't listened to one since lockdown, basically.
I'll sometimes listen when I'm walking the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, or in the car, as you say, but walking the dog.
I've been listening. That's why my speaker was on, because I was listening to one. I've been listening to them whilst I've been working. But I'm a big fan of Mira Portis. That's because I kind of like my retail and sort of styling background. So I love listening to her and her sort of business talk. She's like a huge role model for me.
I finally caught up on your episode on the Lonely Marketers podcast, Christina. So it was from about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think.
Yes.
And I listened to it a couple of days ago.
So that's interesting. Yeah, I know it sounds weird, and I really don't want to hear my own voice, but I should listen to it to see what I said, because that was right at the beginning. That was like week 1 of lockdown.
Yeah, so because you recorded it, and then about a week or so later it was released, and then as I say, I'm probably a couple of weeks behind that. So
so literally it was like the week that first week of lockdown was when I was supposed to meet Glenn Southam, who's the host of Lonely Marketers podcast. I was supposed to meet him in London to do the recording. So yeah, it was quite a raw time, and I remember him laughing. Well, there's 2 reasons. So the episode is called something like
crying into your
cornflakes. Because that's what I was saying to people. People asked me how I was, and I was saying, well, I can cry on my cornflakes, or I can crack on and do some work, and that's what we've been doing. And I remember saying, I'm actually really excited because of all the opportunity that I sort of saw for us as a business in this time, getting stuff done that I haven't had time to work on and haven't had time to do, or even think about talking to you guys about. So it's been really exciting for me. And he basically said that people like me shouldn't be allowed out.
Bit harsh.
I can't remember what word he used to describe me, but it was basically like, do you like pain and suffering? And but yeah, it's quite interesting, and I think actually if we all looked at how we were feeling and operating then versus now, what differences are there, would be quite interesting. So obviously I've got whatever I said then, and then I did the Brain Food Marathon 2 weeks ago now, so be interesting to see how much difference there was in terms of what I said across the 2 things. But yeah. So Mark, your turn to talk.
So I have to. I'm just listening to you lot.
It's standard Mark, to be honest.
That's normal.
Yeah. Well, but
when Mark on the Loose Women panel.
Yeah.
When you ring me up, Emily, I have no choice but to listen.
That's true. You did help me out this morning, definitely. I even said something nice to you, didn't I?
You did. And you said you'd never admit that either.
Well, I have now. Look, see, so I've done 2.
And it's live. So obviously, Mark, you're under immense pressure at the minute, so I really appreciate you coming and being with us and all that kind of thing. But like in terms,
Mr. Carr, you'll have to wait.
That's the web developer. But yeah, in terms of
that's not a client you've just hung up on.
No.
One of our other web developers.
Yeah. So yeah, is there anything website wise at the minute that is a bit of a trend that people should be thinking about, or something they should be checking? I know that there's is there an update on Yoast? I haven't read the email copy yet.
Yeah, there's been quite a major update on the Yoast plugin. So Mark has highlighted that there's possibly some problems with that at the moment. But it's one of those things where I think it's quite a major update in the plugin, and there's a potential for it to actually sort of break sites at the moment. But obviously those kind of things tend to get fixed within almost a few hours once they realise there is an issue. So if anyone is using Yoast at the moment, they've updated to the latest version, they might just see some sort of initial problems. So if they need to do something, Mark's sort of advice at the minute is just to disable the plugin for now until the next update comes in the next sort of day or so, really. Cool. But yeah, I think I haven't read the whole thing from Yoast yet, but I think it's quite a major update on that one.
So Yoast is probably the most popular SEO plugin for WordPress websites. So I absolutely love it, and Jane, you're you probably use it just as much as I do when you're uploading all the blogs for even more probably. So you can put in your keywords. It gives you some indicators as to how strong that particular page is in terms of search engine optimization, and it works off a bit of a traffic light system, so it's really, really easy to use. But I love the fact that you've got control over your Google snippet. So when you're looking at your Google search results and you get a title and the link and a bit of description, and sometimes you're scanning down and you choose to click on that link because of what you're seeing on that page in those search results, and through Yoast you can control what information is there, and it's so powerful. And all of that bit is not even the clever stuff. That's the non-clever stuff they let you use for free, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the thing is, it's quite intuitive for clients to use as well, because you've got that traffic light system in there, and it actually tells you the things that you can improve, and then you can work through. And I was speaking to a client yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, I've only got an amber on this page. I need to get it green." And there's that desire then to actually to get the green traffic light rather than just leaving it on amber. So yeah, it's very good for clients as well.
Yeah, cool. Fab. Anyone got anything else to add, or should we wrap this up?
One thing from the comments. So Paul has just said a thank you to you, Christina, for doing your webinar yesterday. And you just put a link in there. So if people want kind of a full hour or so of your expertise, which is kind of top marketing questions, they can click on the link and go and watch that again. There's some top tips in there from you.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure to do that. I think Pam, you did one for them a few weeks ago as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, go and check that out. Is it the YouTube link he's put in there?
Bear with.
It's Facebook.
It's a Facebook one. Yeah.
Brilliant.
For the BizCom.
Brilliant. We'll get that shared later as well. Yeah, it's basically like an Ask Me Anything on social media, and I went through some general questions that we get asked all the time, and then there were some really good questions came through actually.
I need to go and watch it.
Yeah.
I missed it yesterday. I was a bit gutted, but
well, I need to note down all the questions and then write them all up as individual blogs.
Okay.
That's what I would do if I followed my own advice. Yeah, don't laugh, Pam. Like, that's something that doesn't happen. Cool. Okie dokie. Right, in that case, let's say goodbye, and we'll be here again 12 noon next week. And yeah, for more chitter chatter and just general social media and marketing nonsense.
We'll try and keep the tone a bit higher, shall we, next week? It took a dip halfway through, didn't it?
Take a dip, yeah.
It's you and your penis pasta.
Yeah, we have said it's the best episode ever. So
yeah, and Paul has actually hashtagged penis pasta.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Excellent. You wait for those inquiries to they're all coming Amanda's way.
Great.
Right, cool. I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.